del Norte, land of beauty and bounty. The city of majestic waterfalls.
Experience the Philippines.
Good evening. Welcome to FIL-AM Showtime. How are you all? Kamusta po kayong lahat? Tonight's featured, ladies and gentlemen, is a repeat program, and we are going to show you again the interview that I made with Mr. Danny Glover, a well-known personality from Hollywood who visited us early this year, and we're happy to bring him back to you. Also featuring tonight is the celebration of the Filipino-American History Month at the at the University of Anchorage, Alaska, and this was sponsored by the APO, or the Alaskero Partnership Organization of UAA. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready, please join me during my interview with Mr. Danny Glover. Let's watch.
Senor Glover, thank you very much. It's an honor for FIL-AM Showtime and the entire community for you to stop by despite all this hectic schedule that you have. And you just been the guest at the Senior Center. Is there any retrospect that you want to say to our community right now, sir?
Well, I certainly the whole idea of the Mayor's Diversity Month is something for all of us to be proud of, celebrating traditions of many different ethnic groups who are a part of this great community in Anchorage and also in a greater part of Alaska as well. So the idea of that, provides the perfect platform to talk about some of the things that I like to often reference and refer to. When we talk about health in our communities, it goes beyond just the idea of health with respect to illness, but health is a much broader sense of how do we become healthy in our relationships as well. How do we create life-affirming relationships, those relationships which can move us forward and foster new ideas about who we are in amongst each other. I'm here primarily to talk about, those things. I think that my unique experience, having grown up in San Francisco, California, in another diversified city, having been able to connect my roots to the civil rights movement and other movements, having been certainly the first son born out of the South, all unique experiences, and having been born now 63 years ago, when the world was changing. And we're talking about changes that are happening in the world today. One of the things I'd love to emphasize is the fact that I've been involved for some period of time with an incredible opportunity for what we consider health and wealth. One of the things that certainly we talk about now as we watch a economy which is still teetering on collapse. How do people maintain a sense of themselves, a healthy sense of themselves, and their capacity to do the best that they can do? Certainly, all of us, because of the economy, a number of us, because of the economy, have certainly felt as if they're overwhelmed by the situation and they can't do anything about the situation. They've either lost jobs, they're on the verge of having a house foreclosed or in foreclosure now, and all those things that feel us incapacitate us and makes us feel powerless.
Yes.
How do we now re-energize people and re-energize their imagination? I believe the work that we're doing around health and wellness, the work that I'm doing around a particular product, Tahisha Noni, which is a superfood. The Polynesians have been using it for over 2,000 years, and they call it a gift from God, and they've been using this fruit and it has incredible values in sustaining our health, and also along with that, we've been able to introduce people to another idea that they could become financially healthy as well, where as a product which is distributed only by independent product consultants, IPCs, and the IPCs are from this incredible company, Tahishinoni International, all around the world. Tahishinoni is in 73 countries in this world. It's from even in Alaska, and we can believe they can have enormous benefits from those particular groups or groups in our society, in this community, who are suffering from elements of substance abuse. So all these are things that we've certainly been talking about. We've used and believe that Alaska provides us with a wonderful platform to discuss these ideas, and certainly the Alaskan people from all nationalities here have been have embraced what we're talking about as well.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Grover. Your presence, actually going back to what's happening a while ago, people hearing about your background and things like that, it certainly created lots of gladness for majority of the people that's watching you. Now, obviously, right now there's lots of changes is happening here in America, and lots of young people outside there that's watching right now.
Yeah.
And they see changes that's really happening. What can you say about our young people right now?
Well, one of the things I'd like to also emphasize to young people, that they are the embodiment of that change, that they are the ones who are going to make their own history, and they're the ones who are going to use this particular moment to identify and not only identify, but contextualize change as it means to them. What does change mean to them? We use the word change and change and change. The change, what do we talk about? When we talk about change, what do we talk about change in terms of shifting a paradigm? Alaska is a very unique place because it sits right here at the epicenter of so many things that are happening here. A diverse community, one, a community with a long relationship with, in terms of indigenous people who've cared about the land here, who've cared about nature here, and our relationship to it as the human species. We look at indigenous thought and indigenous ideas around 7 generations, always feeling that it's important not only to believe what is, to take into consideration what is happening in your particular generation, but what happened 7 generations after this one. What would happen to our grandchildren and children's grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera. It's an important concept, as we rushed over the last 190 years to this idea of modernity, of modernism and everything else. So many things, so much wisdom has been lost in the framework. So many people's ideas have been killed off or diminished, or have been certainly have disappeared. And that's what we have to capture. We have to really capture, if we want to survive in a way as human beings with integrity, and also have the capacity to feel that we can empower the changes that are happening around it. If we're going to survive, we're only going to survive if that happens. When we begin to take control of our own situation, take control of our own life, begin to think of ourselves as the engine that drives whatever happens locally in our community, but the engine that drives whatever happens statewide, nationally, and internationally as well. Then we'll be able to talk about real change. Young people have to believe that it not only being the embodiment of that change is not simply the change in their community that we talk about, it's the change in communities around them, diverse communities around them. So I think that's important for us to think about when we if we want to leave some message to young people. Where do we go from here? It's a message that certainly that Dr. King left more than 42 years ago. where do we go from him in his last written statement or book, Community or Chaos? We're on the verge of having to answer those questions. And it's going to take young people, their wisdom, the wisdom of us senior citizens and those who've been other generations, and the wisdom of our forefathers who thought about the world in from a different kind of perspective. It's going to take all of us to do that.
Yes, and that was a very good response. You mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, "I have been on the mountaintop," and definitely these young people right now. And talk about changes. You are a perfect example that made a change in your life when you started all these things before you became the great Danny Grover. It wasn't easy, I'm sure. You went through many changes in life.
You know, life is you know, when you think about life, you think about all the things you go through. You don't sit around at time to digest
Exactly,
them.
yes.
You do, you know.
Yeah.
I've worked since I was 11 years old. I've had some sort of job since I was 11 years old. First paper route I have, San Francisco Examiner, San Francisco Chronicle. I've had something whether I clean toilets or clean kitchens,
Haight-Ashbury,
helping load banana boats. Worked as a longshoreman, worked as a warehouseman, worked as a stock clerk. I've done a whole bunch of different things in my life. You know
I
what
used
I'm
to live
saying?
at Central Avenue. That's why I know that area. And
You know Central Avenue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, go ahead, brother. God,
Yeah.
I grew up on Central.
You did.
I grew up on Central
Avenue Masonic. That's
You
where-
Central
Right,
Avenue,
right.
Central
Masonic and Central Avenue.
Where'd you live?
It's 144 Central Avenue. It's
Oh,
right, yeah.
you lived up near
near that mountain tower, whatever that.
when they lived in Buena Vista.
Right,
But you lived right at the beginning up there, right off of Hay Street.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right off of Hay Street.
that's where I ran
grew
with
up 2 blocks from there, man.
Oh my goodness,
Right
yes.
at FIL in Central.
Oh,
So right up here. I grew
Yeah.
up there. When did you live there?
I was there in the 60s.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up there. My parents bought a home there, 1957. I grew
Yes.
up there. I live on Schrader Street now. You know, so
I was there during the time of Mario Savio and all this.
Mario Savio, the free speech movement
you go,
at Cal
peace
Berkeley.
movement,
Yeah,
and
I know
the
that.
hippies.
Yeah, well, I was there. I was at San Francisco State, 1968. 1969, during the strike in 1968, 1969, I was a student out of San Francisco State and a participant in the strike. So we're feeling connections. You know what I'm saying?
We have an affinity here. And now, how did it all get started that you became, you start taking movie and things like that? Did you plan on doing that, or
You know,
it just
I don't
happened?
plan. It's most things in life you don't plan on doing.
Really?
You
Yes,
know.
I never
you
planned to
look
have
at
a
one
TV
moment.
station here in Alaska.
Huh?
I never planned to have a TV station.
You never plan to have.
in
You understand what I'm saying? So the one thing that happens in the midst of doing things is that you grow a little bit. And I would like to think that what has happened in the process with me, this whole process, that in every step that I've grown as a human being, that somewhere from the wisdom of my parents and whatever, I had enough sense to be able to take care of myself and care about myself. You know, during those periods of times when you think you're invincible as a kid,
Yes.
at 18 years old, or
Yes.
16 years old, 17 years old, the point where you say that what I think matters. And I think that's what we have to say. We have to create a space for young people to say what they think, what they feel, what their ideas are, that they matter, that they're important. We got to create that space in that sense, that they matter. And that's the nurturing process. Once we diminish them and believe and disempower them, or believe that they have diminished their capacity, then we're in trouble. So we have to say, and we've been in trouble for a long time. Large groups of young people are just alienated from what is happening around them and the society around them. They're kind of caught up in this idea of being consumers, and their inability to consume often leads to kind of other behavior. And that behavior often is deviant behavior.
Things that I would like to ask you before we close, Mr. Grover, was that the community here have seen you here. You're a well-known personality. Now that you're in Alaska, tell us is this your first time to be here in Alaska?
No, this is the third time for me in Alaska,
yes.
in 27 years, in 26 years. over 26 and a half years. Over the last 20, only been in 3
What
times.
do you think of Alaska? I mean, I know you were mentioning earlier. What do you think of happening in
Well,
Alaska?
I can only go by the generosity of the people that I've met.
Okay.
You know, and the people that I've met from all communities, whether it was at the state fair or the people I met at the senior citizens, or people that I've met in other places, that I can only go by that. And I'm happy. I'm happy to say that I'm proud to be amongst those people.
And you have a very nice heart. You came in here. You didn't worry about the seniors. They're all very happy about that. You're really blessed, sir.
Well,
and
I'm trying to catch up with them.
Thank you.
I'm praying that I catch up with them.
Well, you know, we're not immortal. You know, sooner or later, you know, we're gonna go and we gotta do the best thing in our life and share
Absolutely.
whatever we have. And you brought with you your grandson. Tell us about your grandson. Everybody was thinking of it.
my grandson's my jewel. He's the next stage.
All right.
I mean it's and we argue, we fight, but I see so much incredible intelligence, a sense of himself, that, you know, and his own power, you know. I see enormous will, you know, and everything else. And he's my love.
Is he gonna follow Grandpa's footsteps?
Well, he wants to right now. He wants to. He said, Bobby called me up. I want to be an actor when I grow up. And he's gonna change many times what he wants to be. You know,
my goodness.
which come.
You know, this.
But I'm not wishing that on him at all.
You have the footstep to follow. You know, your presence here really is a blessing to Alaska, and I'm sure that whoever's watching this, you know, to hear what you have the words of wisdom, it's really very powerful, and I hope those young people that's listening will take heed from the famous Danny Grover himself. And you have one lasting word, sir, before we say goodbye.
Well, it's hard to come up with lasting words, but I want to think about Alaska and the wonderful moments that I've had here, and I want to embrace this and embrace the people, continue to embrace the people of Alaska. We all have a hard journey, a difficult journey to go on our path, and what our past is important. I think the past of all people here in Alaska, those who were the first people of Alaska, is important. I think we need to find ourselves and recapture and reimagine and embrace that wisdom as well.
Mr. Grover, in behalf of the Filipino Americans and the community at large, the diverse community here, thank you very much for stopping by. God bless you,
God
and
bless
we wish
you.
you the best always.
Thank you
And I
very
hope
much.
you come back and see us here in Anchorage, Alaska.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, and there you are, ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, no other else than Mr. Danny Grover. This is Nez Danguilan.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. And now let's watch the Alaskero Partnership Organization at UAA and watch Christine Marasigan open the program and introducing to us the person who is going to be presenting the program that night, no other else than Dr. E.J. David.
History Month.
That's why.
Every Thursday in October from 6 to 8 here at UAA. How many of you, for those of you who were here last Thursday, you played the Filipino or Not game, and so you were able to find out all these little factoids about Filipino Americans who have made contributions to American society. And since it's also Hispanic Heritage Month, we have a few folks back of Hispanic heritage. My name is Christine, and I'm here with my wonderful colleagues who all work here at UAA. Dr. E.J. David from the Department of Psychology, Mary Chris Gatlabayan from right here in the archive, and Dr. Gabe Garcia from the Department of Health Sciences, and Dr. Joy Mapaye. I called her Dr. Joy last time, but Dr. Joy Mapaye from the Department of Journalism. Just a quick word from our sponsors. Always very important. The Department of Psychology has sponsored us, Department of Health Sciences, of course the Consortium Library, but in addition to that, the Diversity Action Committee, the Diversity and Compliance folks have sponsored us, and also...
All right. Let's see what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. Let me start off with classic colonialism theory. This is by Frantz Fanon in 1965, based on his observations of French colonized Algeria, which is in Africa. He said that the first phase of colonialism is when a foreign group forcefully enters a country, okay, with the intention of exploiting this new country's natural resources, okay, including the inhabitants. The second phase is when this colonizing group now imposes its own culture, its own worldview, its own beliefs on the indigenous peoples, okay? In the process, this integrating the culture of the indigenous peoples, because the culture of the indigenous peoples are attached to inferiority, attached to that of being the culture of savages, okay, being the uncivilized culture, and the culture of the colonizing group is portrayed as better, superior, or more civilized. Okay? And then the third phase essentially becomes when oppression and domination is put into practice, because once the indigenous culture is now portrayed as uncivilized people, really now a rationale has been created to civilize them, to tame them, to train them, to teach them. In essence, putting oppression and domination into practice. And then finally, the last phase of colonialism is when the institutions that are set up in the colony are really serving to maintain the power of the colonizers and continually subjugate or oppress the colonized. Okay, so that's just a brief review there. Let's now look at what happens to the indigenous peoples, the colonized individual who lives in such a colonial oppressive society. Well, first, according to a lot of people, eventually they come to believe these alleged inferiorities that are being thrown upon them. They start to believe the messages that maybe they are in fact inferior, that maybe having, brown skin is not as good as having light skin. Okay? Maybe having a certain kind of hair is not as good as having another kind of hair. Okay, maybe speaking my native language is not as good or beneficial for me as speaking the English language. Okay? So they might eventually buy into the oppressive messages that they hear in the society. Then, because no one wants to be associated with inferiority, the most logical thing for a lot of people then is to separate themselves from those inferiorities. Okay? But then now their idea of what is good or what is better, okay, is that of the colonizers. Right? And so then a lot of them might desire to emulate the colonizer as much as they can. They might start to talk in the colonizers' language, act like the colonizers, dress like the colonizers, think about the world consistent with the worldview of the colonizers. Okay, they try to emulate the colonizer. In the process, they might even start discriminating against their own peoples. Okay? Because they want to separate themselves from those other people who now they perceive to be inferior. Okay? And then a lot of research are telling us now that these effects right here can be passed on from one generation to the next. From our grandparents to our parents to now the current generation. Okay? We'll talk more about this and I'll provide specific examples. Okay? But before that, I want all of us to know that the history of the Philippines is not just about, spending 350 years in a Spanish convent and then celebrating in Hollywood for 50 years. It's not all about that. Okay? It's not just about Spanish colonialism and American colonialism. Okay? There was something in the lands, in the islands that we now call the Philippines before Spain got there. Okay, very rich culture actually, very advanced enough so that they actually have a very well-developed form of writing or system of writing. Okay, it's called, a lot of people call this alibata or baybayan. Okay, but this is what it is, or what it was. Now it's probably going to be very difficult to find one person. They exist, but it's probably going to be difficult, very difficult to find one person who can still understand this, or write this way, or read this. Okay? Because all that is gone now. So because all that is gone, something significant must have happened, right? Okay? And that was Spanish colonialism in the beginning. Okay? 350 years of Spanish colonialism. Is actually summarized right here by Jose Rizal, who is probably one of the more prominent Filipino figures in the world. Okay? He described the experiences of Filipinos in this way under Spain. He said, little by little, the Filipinos, lost their old traditions, the mementos of their past. They gave up their writings, their songs, their poems, their laws, in order to learn by rote other doctrines which they did not understand. Another morality, another aesthetics different from those inspired by their climate and their manner of thinking. Degrading themselves in their own eyes, they became ashamed of what was their own. They began to admire and praise whatever was foreign and incomprehensible. Their spirit was dismayed, and it surrendered to this disgust of themselves. Okay? We kind of talked about this earlier already, right? Frantz Fanon and many, right? Internalized superiority, right? Trying to emulate the colonizing group as much as possible. Okay? But Jose Rizal said all these things, okay, many years before Frantz Fanon and Albert Memmi came up with their theories. Okay? Now let's look at American colonialism. Oh wait, because this is Filipino-American History Month. Let me tell you guys a little bit about history. Okay? So the Filipinos actually, because of many centuries of being oppressed under Spain, there were a lot of Filipino uprisings. Okay, so they revolted against Spain, and the Filipinos actually won against Spain already. They were actually successful enough to the extent that they were able to develop a constitution and declare themselves to be an independent country. They were even able to elect a president, Emilio Aguinaldo, at that time. Okay? However, Spain, because they did not want to accept defeat to the Filipinos, who really they viewed as inferior peoples, they ended up having a war with the United States. Well, they were already in a war with the United States, right? The Spanish-American War. So around that time, Spain decided to sell the Philippines along with Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Guam to the United States, okay, for $20 million. Okay? Now, there were Filipino representatives. This is called the Treaty of Paris. Many of you may have heard about this, Treaty of Paris in 1898. There were Filipino representatives that went over there and said, wait, you can't sell us to the United States because we're now an independent country. Okay? We've defeated Spain. We're independent now. You can't sell, Spain can sell us to the United States. No one listened to them. Okay? Before the Treaty of Paris was finalized, okay, there were Filipino representatives over there too, arguing for the same thing, but no one listened to them, and the United States proceeded to take over the Philippines. Now, there was a Philippine-American War that began around 1898, 1899, that a lot of people really don't talk about today anymore. Okay? A lot of Americans, a lot of Filipinos, both soldiers and civilians, died during that war. Okay? But no one talks about that anymore. Everyone talks about the Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Iraq War. Okay? But really no one talks about the Philippine-American War anymore. Okay? Which is very similar really to those more recent wars. Okay? When the United States started sending troops to the Philippines, right, for the Philippine-American War, a lot of Americans here were questioning why. Why are we sending our soldiers over there, okay, our sons, our daughters, to die? What's the purpose? Okay? Actually, Mark Twain was one of the more vocal people criticizing America's presence in the Philippines around that time. Okay? And to support or defend his decision to enter the Philippines, this is what William McKinley said. President William McKinley said, there was nothing for us left to do but to take them all and to educate the Filipinos and uplift and civilize and Christianize them. Okay? So again, the whole idea of teaching a supposedly inferior group of people, educating them, civilizing them. Okay? Here's a senator from Indiana. Let's just focus on the red parts. Okay? He said that Philippines are peopled by a race which civilization demands shall be improved. More from this same senator. Hundreds of years of savagery, other hundreds of years of Orientalism. They are children. They are not capable of self-government. How could they be? They are not of a self-governing race. More from the same senator. Savage blood, Oriental blood, Malay blood, Spanish example are these the elements of self-government. We must never forget that in dealing with the Filipinos, we deal with children. Here are some political cartoons around that time. Again, portraying the Filipino as a savage. As children being trained by Uncle Sam. As a baby being bathed by William McKinley. Cleaned up, because they're dirty, with the waters of civilization. The Filipino before and after America got there. Before America got there, Filipinos were just running around chasing each other with sticks. When America got there, they learned how to play baseball. Similar to what happened here, in these lands. There's a political cartoon depicting a Native American being cleaned up. Here's another political cartoon connecting the Filipino experience to the Native American experience. There's a Native American person, there's a Filipino person, they're talking over the telephone or the telegraph. Okay? So speaking from experience, okay? American Indian to Filipino, be good or you will be dead. More locally, this happened in Fairbanks. It's a picture of a boarding school in Fairbanks. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a sign over there. It says, please do not speak Eskimo. More contemporarily, this is a very recent picture from the Philippines. You guys notice anything kind of weird here? Unfortunately, that's very common in the Philippines. A lot of people make a lot of money trying to make other people white. There's a common sign in storefronts in United States around the 1930s, 1940s, showing discrimination and attitudes against Filipinos. There's another sign right here. I don't know if you can see it, but
that's why there's a lot of rebellious people, because how they treat people is how they make people angry. So you really can't blame people too. So you get what you get. You get what.
Well, we'll talk more about some stuff later. Yeah. It says possibly no Filipinos allowed right there. Okay. More examples of discrimination, not just among Filipinos, but other historically oppressed groups. Okay? See that sign over there? This is a real computer game called Border Patrol. You shoot Mexicans. Now, let's make these pictures move. I miss my baby boy. Where is he? Okay, this is a TV commercial from the Philippines.
Only one name touches our skin. Now one name gets you closer to Star White Skin. Bello Essentials. Its signature dermalite skin system controls darkening deep within the skin and stops dark pigments from moving up, turning it smoother, more radiant, star-white skin.
Only Bella touches our skin. Who touches yours?
Only Bella knows star-white skin.
Okay. So skin whitening products, even bleach. Okay. Again, very common in the Philippines. Let's watch another one. This one is from Hong Kong. So we know that this is happening to a lot of different groups around the world. Okay, it's not unique to Filipinos.
Face it, life gets better. Here's a breakthrough from the expert in skin whitening. Skin White Whitening Face Cream. As early as 2 weeks, you'll achieve your skin's most natural, whitest white. That's 99% whiter than the leading brand. Whiter, better. We can prove it. And the skin whitening expert defy color.
Now let's watch one from India. Okay, another country with a colonized history.
भैया फिर से मेरी सारी फेयरनेस क्रीम खत्म कर दी।
मत होकर लड़कियों वाली क्रीम। चुप चुप कर गाहे तो लड़कियों की क्रीम लगाए, उनकी त्वचा है कोमल कोमल और तुम्हारी त्वचा नहीं उनके जैसी, क्यों ना समझ तुम्हारे। इमामी फेयर एंड हैंडसम आम फेयरनेस क्रीम मर्दों की सख्त त्वचा में नहीं समा पाते। सिर्फ फेयर एंड हैंडसम में है अमेरिकन डबल स्ट्रेंथ पेप्टाइड और जड़ी बूटियां जो अंदर समाए और थोड़ा बनाए। इमामी फेयर एंड हैंडसम दुनिया की नंबर 1 फेयरनेस क्रीम फॉर मेन।
Throughout my days at elementary school, I had an acute fear that someone would discover that I was Filipino. It was open season on Filipinos. There were derisive nicknames created by students, and a large number of stereotypes expounded and attributed to Filipinos. They were labeled as being stupid, backwards, and
School that the Americans were our saviors, that they brought us democracy. When I saw cowboy and Indian movies, I always rooted for the cowboys. I preferred American-style clothes. Americans were rich, handsome, and superior. Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary looked like Americans, with their white skins and long noses.
Thank you, Gabe. I especially like this quote because I think it touches on both the Spanish and American influences on the Filipino culture here. Okay?
A lot of Filipinos prefer light skin.
Oh, wait.
that's me.
Oh, this is Crystal first, sorry. Yeah, then we'll go ahead, Crystal.
Okay. Among Filipinos, white skin is considered better. I cannot tell you how many products are advertised and sold in the Philippines to whiten our skin. Marrying a white man is a step up, socially and economically. Mixed children by white men are thought of as more valuable, precious, and better prepared for society. This mentality isn't new. Many of the elders believe white is right. All white boyfriends, husbands, and mixed children are shown off as trophies.
Again, it's not just, it could be wives too, like white wives. Okay, now Joy. Oh wait, no, not you. EJ. Yes, the other EJ.
My idea of Filipino culture and identity is split into two forms, the FOB and the Filipino American. I didn't associate with FOBs. They were backward, had accents, just acting weird. And there was me, the non-FOB. He spoke perfect English, born and raised here, had only white friends. I was white in every way except for the color of my skin, my nose, and eyes. I hate to admit that I've been an accomplice to cruel acts and have been perpetrated against Filipinos.
Now this happens all the time. Who here knows what FOB means?
Fresh out the boat.
Fresh off the boat. Somebody already answered it. Yeah, who said that?
Me.
Fresh off the boat. But now Filipinos don't get here by boat, right? People now say fresh off the boat. But yeah, it's but FOBs, a lot of times.
Considered better. I cannot tell you how many products are advertised and sold in the Philippines to whiten our skin. Marrying a white man is a step up, socially and economically. Mixed children by white men are thought of as more valuable, precious, and better prepared for society. This mentality isn't new. Many of the elders believe white is right. All white boyfriends, husbands, and mixed children are shown off as trophies.
Again, it's not just, it could be wives too, like white flags. And now Joy. Okay.
Even my mom would say so. She hates it when I get dark from being outside too much. I remember that she would say that I looked ugly because I was so dark. And it seems that many other moms feel that same way too from hearing stories from other Filipino kids.
Okay? So these messages, these ideas, these attitudes that we have can be passed on from one generation to the next. The next one right here is a very long one. Okay? But it also speaks to the intergenerational impact of colonialism and oppression. But this, to me, this has been the most powerful narrative that I've received so far from the community. And because it's so long, I asked Christine Marasigan to read it for us.
You say long-winded. My father is Filipino-American. He was born in San Francisco, California in 1932. Not the best time to be born in the U.S. when you don't fit in with the white majority. I feel deeply saddened to say it, but my father was a victim of the colonial mentality. My mother is English, Scottish, and German ancestry. My English side goes as far back as the founding of Jamestown. I truly believe my father married my mother simply to improve his status in the United States and to produce the ideal mestiza child, namely me. I grew up with my father worshiping my half-white status. Of course, as a teenager, I felt superior because of my mestiza look and bloodline. I grew up ignoring and sometimes hating my Filipino side, just as my father has done. My father died over a year and a half ago, and my eyes opened up to the truth. My mother treated my father as a house Negro. He would do anything for her, even though she cheated on him and basically treated him like an errand boy. She would often brag to me how she could get him to do anything she wanted him to do. I haven't spoken to my mother since the funeral. I guess the point I'm trying to say here is I was deeply affected by my father's colonial mentality. I too was caught up in the colonial mentality. At the moment, I am in an identity crisis, a war within myself. I feel white guilt. I feel ashamed for being half white. I feel horrible that my father hated him so much for being Filipino. I feel like I'm half oppressed and yet half oppressor. It sucks, to say the least.
Okay. Now, this woman's experience right here, I think, speaks to a lot of Filipino Americans' experiences. Okay, even Filipino Americans who may not be of mixed race or mestizo like this woman is. Okay, because again, Filipino Americans, even though we are Filipino, we are also Americans. Okay, and being American is an important part of our identity. It is part of who we are, and we take pride in that. We value that as well. We appreciate it. Okay, so this confusion right here and the conflict, okay, in a way between two sides of ourselves, can be very common among a lot of Filipino Americans. Okay? So I think those girls at the end, they were talking about the importance of knowing your history. You know, and you know, having something to be proud of, having something that you can appreciate that is truly yours. Okay? And many of them were talking about how it was stripped from them. Now it's completely gone. They don't even have any idea, you know, where to go back to. Okay? And maybe try to relearn that stuff. Okay? For a lot of other groups with an oppressed history, like Filipinos, we still have that chance. We still have chances to learn about our history and our indigenous culture and our native languages. It's not lost yet. So let's not waste it.
Well, here's Jesse V doing on-the-spot interview of the Filipino American History Month celebration at UAA. Take it away, Jesse.
Okay, hi, I'm Jesse Viscochi with FIL-AM Showtime, and Esquina is our executive producer. Interesting, you know what. But anyway, what can you say about tonight's presentation? Has it deepened your understanding about your identity, or?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I actually went to school in the Philippines. I was born and raised in Manila, and the stuff that he was saying was very true as far as them really discriminating against the Filipinos who don't know how to speak English. It was more like they kind of praised the people who spoke more English than they did Tagalog, and really made fun of the people who didn't really know how to speak English I guess, the right way without the accent.
So what type of school did you attend when you were in Manila? Is it
went to
private school or private school?
Yes, I went to private school. I went to Obi Montessori.
Oh, but anyway, what really impacted you, tonight's presentation regarding the use of language? Is it really important to sound the North American way, or?
Well, I don't personally think so. I mean, as long as you have a good grasp of the American language, it doesn't really matter how you speak. Like, a lot of people from other countries, not necessarily Filipinos, but a lot of other countries can speak good English but still have an accent, and they don't seem to have a problem with that. It's part of their culture. As far as Filipinos go, they really look down upon people who have the Filipino accent. Like, if you're from Brazil and you speak with a Brazilian accent, they think it's sexy, but you speak with a Filipino accent and they don't think it's very good at all.
It's situational,
yeah.
Okay. What have you learned tonight?
I think it's really cool. It speaks the truth of the world, that people should not be, Americans, Filipino, should not be intimidated. And I think that's deception. I think that's deception, and that's a lie. That's a lie, and the kids should be. It's a good lesson for all of us, because we should not take deception.
Okay.
Deception is the.
So we should not be deceived.
They should not be deceived.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing as bullying, and intimidation, and fear. And fear is not good because it's inside of you, and it's a deception. That's the devil.
Okay. And what do you think about Dr. David?
Oh, I think he's really good. He's very.
What? He's handsome?
He's very. He got everything to present.
Tonight's presentation.
Actually, learned a little bit. I've known about Filipino history for quite a while. I was born in the Philippines.
Okay, what part?
I was born in Manila.
Manila, okay. Speak Tagalog?
I speak Tagalog.
Okay, good. Okay, what? Give us a short, what did you want to really learn tonight? I mean, what did you really learn?
Well, it gives out a good perspective of both sides, I guess. I think it gives out, the oppressed and the oppressor side. It doesn't matter where you look at it, American or Filipino side or whatever. And I think that kind of opens up a lot of people's minds, because they haven't seen a lot of this stuff, and it's almost forgotten. So,
well, it is. What do you think about Dr. David?
He's good. Pretty good.
David or David?
I think it's David.
Okay.
David or David. It works the same.
It's the same. Okay.
So, thank you.
Lynn Jacobs. Okay. And this is Mr. Nez Danguilan, our executive producer.
I've seen you on TV.
Okay, yeah, you'll be seen. But anyway, I just would like to ask you a question. Two quick questions. What have you learned tonight about tonight's presentation?
I've heard portions of EJ's presentation before, because I've come to see him before, but I learned about some of the research and the responses that he had gotten about how people have internalized oppression and their view of colonial mentality and their consciousness of it. So, yeah, that was very impactful.
Have you identified with some of the things that you mentioned, the similarities between the Filipino culture and
I'm
your culture?
mixed on my mother's Alaska Native and my dad is white, and so I've definitely had some questioning of identity and what side I belong to more and what side I want to identify with more.
So you're still internalizing, trying to...
I think I've got it figured out. I feel pretty comfortable now in my own skin.
Okay, what do you think about Dr. David?
I think he's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I love his work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Jesse Viscocho from FIL-AM Showtime. What's your name?
Jennifer Maligaya?
Oh, Jennifer Maligaya means happy.
Yes.
So where were you born?
I was born in Seattle, Washington.
So you're visiting, or are you a student here?
My family moved to Sandpoint down the Aleutian Chain 7 years ago. And then I moved to Alaska for college.
So I would just like to know, what have you learned tonight?
Well, I've learned a lot tonight. I never even knew that we had, the slideshow, they had different Filipino Americans that contributed to the society. So I didn't know some of the people that were authors, that we were actually an independent country quite after Spain took over. So there's a lot about the culture I didn't really know about.
You learn a lot, huh?
Yes.
Makes you proud of being a Filipino American?
Yes.
What do you think about Dr. Tim?
I really liked the stuff that he showed us, all of the information with psychology, the backgrounds of diversity and the culture of American culture and Filipino culture, and putting those two together, seeing how we respect ourselves as being Filipino Americans. It's a lot harder growing up from Americanized culture and then going back home where my family's, they speak Tagalog every single day, and then I go to school, it's English, so it's kind of hard.
Well, thank you very much, Jessie V, and sa inyo mga kabayan, for those of you attending, don't be surprised. Don't forget, attend the tomorrow's activities, and who knows, Uncle Jesse probably will be there and do an on-the-spot interview, and don't be surprised if he approach you. Okay, thank you very much. FIL-AM Showtime and the Filipino community here in Anchorage extend their congratulations to the Filipino community of Juneau, Alaska. Recently, the Filipino channel featured the much-awaited Jenny Lopez Jr., Samahang Bayaning Pilipino sa Amerika 2010 Gawad Awards. And there were 44 nominees, or 44 applicants, and only 10 was accepted, and one of these 10 is no other else than the Filipino community of Juneau, Alaska. Again, congratulations to Ginny Gomez Strickler, the president of the Filipino community of Anchorage, and of Juneau, excuse me, and of course to the entire members of the Filipino community of Juneau, Alaska. Congratulations again. Special announcement, the Philippine Consulate Outreach. This coming Friday, they will be here in Anchorage, Alaska. And that's this coming Friday, again, October 22, 24, at the John Thomas Building. And this is located at the corner of East 3rd Avenue and Cordova. Again, that is on the corner of East 3rd Avenue and Cordova. It's called OPAG, which is located, of course, at the John Thomas Building, Suite 300. And to be more specific, I will give you the address. If you have further questions, you may call me at 350-0219 or call Jesse at 306-0459. Again, Jesse Biscoccio, 306-0459, or myself, Nez, at 350-0219. We have another announcement, the Great Pumpkin Festival, and this is going to be held this coming October 30th, that Saturday, at the Spenard Recreation Center, and it will start from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, it's going to be held at the Spenard Recreation Center, the Great Pumpkin Festival, sponsored by the Lions. And we hope to see you there. Dalhin yung mga anak nyo. There will be $4 tickets for each kids, and they get to play all the activities inside the Spenard Recreation Center. Plus, there will be a free eye screening. And kung may mga problema mga mata yung mga anak nyo, meron pang free eye screening doon, so that you'll find out if they have eyes problem. Again, the Great Pumpkin Festival sa October 30th, 2010, and that's this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., Spenard Recreation Center. Now, going on with our program, ladies and gentlemen, FIL-AM Showtime, from time to time, would be looking for former leaders in our community, and we were able to track one of our leaders who since then retired. And we are very happy and very honored to present to you this young man. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Andy Villanueva, the past president of the Filipino American Seniors of Anchorage, Alaska, who will entertain us tonight with this harmonica.
Good evening, my friends. My name is Andy, and I wish to dedicate my music, playing my harmonica, to all my friends, especially to Julie at the Greenwood Lodge, where we always go. We are there are a few people who are disabled, and we always attend the place there every day. And if you want to come and join us, you're welcome. There is another one that I'd like to play, which is a very popular song. That's the Bright Moon, Naranya Kabulag. I think you will like this. If you want to dance, you can dance. It's a waltz, valse. This was for my friends at the Greenwood Lodge, for Manong Jaime, who is 99 years old, and also those who are working in the kitchen. We have Christy, Mang Armando, Mercy, Marcheta, and Rose, and also the guys who are there who are part of the Greenwood Lodge gang. Thank you so much. To all viewers of FIL-AM Showtime, and also from St. Agnes, that's Agnes Francisco, St. Agnes Assisted Living Home. This is where I live with my wife, Julie. So we hope to see you folks again, and I will be coming back again to play more music for you folks. Goodbye. Thank you so much again.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our 1-hour show. Again, thank you very much, Manu Mandy. We're going to be showing more of this program with regards to our former leaders, find out where they are so we can bring them back to you. And again, we hope you had a great time. FIL-AM Showtime had a great time. At gaya po ng sabi ko, please magmahalan tayo sa Twina. We hope to see you next week. God bless. And may the Holy Spirit be with you until next week. Ako po si Nez Danguilan. Good night.